That's her nickname, is Janet Emuna. So I'm not going to go into, Janet didn't really want me to say very much about her, but I will say just a few words of the little bit that I know about Janet. Janet is instrumental in starting all these amazing chats, all for the sake of Kavod Shamayim and to bring Geula. She has started, I don't know how, if there's 13 chats now of Devarim, to say the whole book of Devarim every single day, because Rav Pinto had advised her that these are one of the most important things to bring Geula. She is involved in Emuna. She's been involved in chats for, actually I have to share, I didn't share. She's been involved in chats to do with having a good eye, positivity, Emuna, you name it, Janet has been involved in it. So really, what she wanted me to say is that, one second, where are you? She wanted me to say someone who loves to learn and to share and to help bring people close to Hashem and to love Hashem and to talk to Hashem and to develop a relationship with our loving, caring Father who loves us so much, who always provides for us and who gives us everything. I just want everyone to know about Hashem and to love Hashem. So we can see how beautiful and special she is. Havia, I'm going to share with you. Did you share with me, Janet, the stuff?
What do you mean?
Oh, you did share with me. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to just share with Havia. She'll put it on the screen or she'll put it in the chat, all the stuff. Okay, I'm going to put myself on mute. I apologize. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies. How are you? Naomi, I want to thank you so much for everything you're doing, this beautiful incentive. Naomi's been doing great things like this for a very long time also, and she's also on a mission, paving a path for women. She loves women, and she just wants to help women to grow and to grow close to Hashem. And all of you who are here are expressing that, an expression of that, and are expressing that as well for being here. When Naomi asked me to speak, actually Naomi Batya asked me to speak first, and like I kindly declined because I get nervous to talk sometimes. It's funny, but you know, Hashem helps. And I want to take a minute to mention Naomi also, who's going to be very shy. She might kill me afterwards, but okay. She's been my right hand, my admin of all the chats. I create them and I leave and she stays on. And she's just been super amazing. So like really, there's been a lot of partnerships, and a lot of what I do is really from Hashem, but also, you know, I don't really run all the chats. I, you know, have amazing backup people that Hashem sends that are so passionate about what they do. And if I would talk about Naomi, it would be a whole day also, but all of you, each of you have your own story. When I was asked to pick a topic, I didn't know what to pick, and it turned out that it fell out within the 3 weeks. So I figured judging favorably was a perfect topic to speak about at this time. We created a chat, Naomi, along with me, God bless her. Rav Pinto, who I just want to introduce who he is a grandson, a great-grandson of the Baba Sali, if anyone heard him, you know, from our Sephardic aspect. And he's a chief rabbi of Morocco currently, and he's a Mikubal, and he did teach us about Sefer Devarim, which is, he's saying, is the Geulah. This will help bring the Geulah of this generation, is the Yeshua of this generation. But he speaks in his speeches, a lot of times I heard him saying, you know, people do Ta'anit Zibor. People do Ta'anit from fasting like we did the other day, and hopefully won't have to on Tisha B'Av. Ta'anit Zibor is to refrain from speaking. Sometimes we should, you know, take an hour. People do an hour of not speaking Lashon Hara. Refraining from speaking, some people refrain from speaking altogether. Rabbi Weinkrantz, the Chet Tzaddik B'Kadosh Bracha, he used to say we shouldn't talk. And he said at all, because da ma lemala mincha, know what's above you. If Hashem's above you, how could we even open our mouth? Like, how could we? So he said, train yourself. And he said 2 hours a day. He goes, okay, start an hour a day. Okay, 5 minutes a day. So he said, just don't talk at all. So Rav Pinto was saying we should do ta'ani shifita, which is a fast from judging. So the human process is that we're always thinking and we're always judging, but are we judging positive or negative? And it's the same with our thoughts. Our thoughts, we don't have one thought at a time. It's positive or negative. If we have an awareness and we catch ourselves in a negative thought, we have to quickly stop and say, Batel, I don't want to be thinking this thought. I don't accept this thought. I don't want to let this thought into my subconscious mind. I want to nullify it, and I want to have a positive thought, and then replace the negative thought with the exact opposite, happy, positive ending thought. And it's a challenge, but it's an awareness and something that we're working on constantly. So when we are judging, we're really, our thoughts have such tremendous power, they could become fulfilled. So it's the same thing when we're judging someone negatively, we're constantly judging. He's saying, take a fast day from judging. So he said so many times, and also one time I said, why don't we create a chat for this? You know me, you're there. Let's create a chat for this. Let's create a chat for that, right? So we decided to create a chat for this exactly a year ago. And then we, it turned into a Hidbodedut chat, talking to Hashem for about an hour a day, because anything starts and begins with Hashem and only Hashem. But we started again this concept for the 3 weeks for protection, to try to judge favorably, try to be positive. We call it the positive chat because we want it to be positive rather than all the bad things we think we're doing, and we're like, so full of lashon hara, and we're so, and we all know, anyone knows at this point, everybody knows the reason why we're here is sinat chinam, and sinat chinam is all forms of evil speech and evil, negativity and evil thoughts and negative thoughts, and but we want to do something like positive. So we're working on positivity. So we have a chat, it's called our Positive Hour. It's also Hidbodedut Hour, where we take just a few minutes a day. And during those few minutes, if any negative thought comes to our mind, we have to turn to the exact opposite. Meaning, let's say if someone's home and all of a sudden their husband passes by and they say, oh, he's so not helpful to me. What? At that moment, they stop and they say, wait, let me think of all the times he was helpful to me. The child passes by and she's like, messy again. Like, you know what? She's such a good person. And start thinking. And sometimes someone passes next to us like an hour a day and we say, oh, she looks so pretty today. She just did such a nice thing. And we're thinking about it. But a lot of times it doesn't come to expression. It doesn't come to our mouth. And we don't say it. Being positive about that too. To say something positive is an amazing thing. Or someone comes to your mind, all of a sudden you remember your mother or your brother or your friend. Take a moment and pick up the phone and call them or bless them. Tell them to just whatever comes to, if you think about world events, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid. What's going on in the world? What's happening? What's Hashem? Dan Hashem lekasif. You're not judging Hashem favorably at the moment. No, Hashem loves us very, very much. He only does good and he's doing good right now as well. So this is what we try to encourage on our positive chat. If anyone wants to join, I send Naomi Greenberg the link. And they could ask her for the link. It's just something that we're working on. And on the first day, we asked someone, you know what, just think about someone you're upset with and forgive them, but don't wait, do it today. And someone on our chat said, I was really hurt and I was really mad at someone. And she said, and you know what, I am going to call them and I'm going to reach out and I'm going to try to forgive this person. And then she texted us late. She sent us a message later that she actually sent this person an email and she realized that she really was being very angry. Therefore, she became rude. And from rudeness became more anger inside that she was holding. And she said she sent an apology letter to this person. And to me, that was the greatest feeling because I felt like the whole chat was worth everything. Because we sit with resentments and anger and negative judgments. And, what does Hashem want from us already? And when we're going to get, so sometimes it could be one small thing, and sometimes it could be you who's, the key that we think it's so big and so huge. Sometimes people will ask me how are we going to get everyone to judge favorably? We're like, no, start with yourself. You be the one that can have the key to open the Geula. I remember a story, and I'm really going off topic, of there was a Rav, and I don't remember which one, but it was one of the big ones. And it was time of, I guess it was probably the Arabs, bombings. And everyone ran to a bomb shelter. And those horrible, scary bombing, everyone was together and running, and people, were scared and saying Tehillim. And there was one Rav, and he was in his house, he didn't want to leave, and they told him why. He goes, the bombing just stopped. He goes, what do you mean? He said, yeah, the bombing stopped. He said, it can't be. They said, yeah. And then all of a sudden they noticed it was quiet. And then it was, he goes, the bombing stopped. He said, but how do you know, and how did you know? He said, because there was one woman who caused the bombing to stop. I said, what does that mean? Has one woman caused all this bombing to stop? He said, when he was in his room, I may be getting some of the details mixed up. She opened her window and she looked at the heavens and she started screaming, I forgive him, I forgive him. And like, anyone who have heard that would know who she forgives, but maybe they'll have had Ruach HaKodesh, I don't know. And he was like, what's going on? She said her husband had left her and she was a young mom with young children and he just disappeared. He abandoned her and the kids and it was very hard for her. It was hard for her emotionally and financially and for the children. And obviously inside she was hurt and you would call that probably holding a grudge. And all of a sudden she was like one day, I forgive him. And she looked up at Shamayim, she said, Hashem, if I could forgive him, you could forgive us. And also on the spot, the bombing stopped. So because of this one woman, in her simplicity, and no, it wasn't easy. And sometimes it could be easy, but probably it's not gonna be so easy. It could be one little act. And I'm always like saying, Hashem, what's gonna be that one act? It's gonna be that one final, it's like a second between Mashiach not being here and Mashiach being here. Like, what's it going to be? And I said, I don't know, but whoever it's going to be, please do it. Do what you got to do. Like, release the resentment, pick up the phone, ask him open the tefillah. And we have to know that when we're judging, it's hard to understand this. It really is hard to even remember these concepts. But when we're judging ourselves. Anything that we do, Hashem's our twin, and he gives us the wheel. Whatever we do, whatever direction we want to go, Hashem's your shadow. Whatever direction we want to turn right, Hashem turns right with us. We want to turn left, Hashem turns left with us. He gives us a lot of power and a lot of control. We think we're like weak women. We're not. We're very strong. We're very powerful. We have so much koach. Naomi, are we co-partners with Hashem? We had a big discussion. Hashem gives us a lot of koach, and we're able to control that, and we don't realize that. Sometimes we're actually blaming Hashem when it's really us that are in full control of what happens to us in our reality. There's a story with David HaMelech, which I did not prepare. I have a whole bunch of pages of things I did prepare, but this is what's coming to mind, so I'm just going to go with whatever Hashem puts in my mind. But I believe it's Natan Hanavi. So David HaMelech had sinned with Bathsheba, and Natan Hanavi comes to David HaMelech one day. I'm sure you all know the story. If I say it wrong, please correct me. And he says, David HaMelech, please, I have a court case, and we don't know how to judge this court case. Could you please help me? So David HaMelech says, sure, let me hear the details. So he said, okay, there's this very, very rich man, and he has a lot of cattle, sheep, cows. He has everything. He has thousands. And he has a neighbor, and this neighbor has one sheep. And he's a poor man, and that's all he has. And he loves his sheep, and he washes it and cleans it and takes care of it and talks to it. And he's like, it's his one sheep. It's his baby. And he takes care of it. And one day, this rich man decided he wants to make some sort of a fancy dinner or barbecue by guests. So what did he do? He went and he took the poor man's sheep. He slaughtered it and served that for dinner. And he said, David HaMelech, what do we do with this man? He said, what? He has thousands of sheep and cattle, and he took this poor man's one beloved little sheep. Chayav mita. He deserves the death penalty. So that's his judgment. He deserves the death penalty. He said, David, that's you. You're the man. He said, Bathsheba's husband, he had only one wife, but you're the king. You have everything. You have money. You have wives. You have anything you need. But you wanted to take his one wife. He was actually sent to the battlefield and died. And I'm sorry. Someone say something? Okay, so he said, what? And he was shocked. And he said, I'm the man. And he said, Chatati. Right away, he realized he did the wrong thing. And he admitted, and he did teshuvah, which is a very great thing to do. But what's scary about this story? The Navi gave David HaMelech this whole court scene, the whole scenario. He played David HaMelech. He asked David HaMelech to judge the scene, and David HaMelech didn't know he was judging himself. They say that happens to us, I don't know how many days, where Hashem doesn't know exactly where to put us, what to do. So they say, okay, test them. And sometimes they test us by sending us another person and a whole scenario with another person. They see how we judge it. And we don't know sometimes that the way we judge this person is how they're going to end up using our own information. And we're kind of using against ourselves because we can be judged this way. So if we deal kindly with this person, they'll deal kindly with us. And if we don't deal kindly with this person, they won't deal kindly with us. And it's scary because we're not aware, like we forget that really everything's midah connected midah, and the world's run on this principle. So how important it is to be judging favorably, that's even on a very basic, selfish level, but we really should judge people in a good way, because if we want rachamim from Shemaim, we have to be Rahman. Anything we want, we have to do the same thing. Learn about Elul again and Rosh Hashanah when, Tishba is coming up, and we're going to learn like how to get more mercy from Shemaim, be more merciful. So judging favorably, it's not an easy thing, but it happens like all the time when we're judging, and you can just see the simplest scenarios and not even think that you're judging, not even being aware that you're judging. Like a silly thing just happened this morning, very simple, like 7 a.m., all of a sudden I smell dairy, like a pizza baking. I'm like, who bakes pizza at my house at 7 a.m.? Who's up? My kids are sleeping, my husband's in shul. And I'm like, could be my son. He's the only one who would like. I said, maybe he never came home in the night because he does shomrim. And he doesn't eat dairy. Like, it can't be him. I'm like, yeah, it could be him. Like, I guess it was him, but he doesn't eat dairy. I'm like thinking, I said, maybe he had a friend with him. I said, that never even occurred to me. Like, maybe he had a friend who ate it, and it wasn't anything important, and I said, maybe he did eat it. Did you ever go on a diet and have a nutritionist and you're not supposed to eat that chocolate bars in front of the whole family? You're perfect. And you're with the carrot sticks, but when they're not looking, just quickly eat a chocolate bar and ice cream. Like, I'm on my diet. I'm really good. Like, you snuck something in. I was just like, it was such a simple thing, not an important thing. He could eat whatever he wants. It's not really the point. The point is, like, a judgment was going through my mind without me being aware of it. And I said, how many times throughout the day are we judging? So really, one of the most important things is to really be educated and knowledgeable and reading about the topic of Dan L'Kaf Sefut. So there's a beautiful book. It's called The Other Side of the Story by Rebbe Yehuda Samet. And she has wonderful, wonderful stories. And in her stories, maybe we'll go through a few of them as much as time permits. But I think the concept here is when you read these stories, it's like just a training for our mind to understand and become more aware and more focused that, yes, we are constantly judging and we are constantly being tested and situations are being thrown at us. And the more we could be positive in this little box up here, the more we're going to see bracha in our own lives. So there's many scenarios in here. And I remember one of them, like, she was like, how far do we have to go in judging favorably? So they said, like, can you say something like ridiculous, like, she's missing her something and a cat stole it? I said, no, because your brain will never really believe that. So you can't go out of the way, like, in such a not normal way. And they said, why did Hashem create crooked reasoning? He said, so that we could down look maybe to think of things that really don't make sense. The key is that it has to satisfy you, because it could be so ridiculous, but it could satisfy you. That's enough. It depends on how you feel inside. Are you bothered? You're the one who's judging how you feel. If you're bothered, that means it's a negative emotion, and you don't want to have a negative emotion. You want to release all resentment, anger, grudgments, judgments. So then she goes on in the book and she said, well, there was actually a scenario of a woman, a young girl who was, I believe, in seminary, and she had these people that she visited in Sifat, and she went to say goodbye because she was going back to her hometown. And then a new girl was coming in, and she crossed paths with the new girl, and the people of the home weren't home. And she put down her pocketbook. She went to get a drink, and she said hello to the new girl. And then as she was about to leave, all of a sudden the new girl wasn't there anymore, and neither was her pocketbook. She was like, what? Some nerve. She was just here for a few minutes, right under my nose. She stole my pocketbook just like that. And she was like beyond herself. And she had all her credit cards, and she had her money and her keys. And a lot of people shouldn't know from it. If anything, God forbid, should never get stolen. The thing that people care most about is even more than their money sometimes is just like having to cancel everything. It's a very big, inconvenience. And that's what she did. She called the banks. She had everything canceled, but she couldn't get over the nerve of this girl. And then anyway, she called the hostess to say goodbye. And she told her what happened, that she was actually missing her pocketbook. She was in her house, and all of a sudden her pocketbook was missing. So the woman started laughing. She was, by any chance, did you leave the front door open? She's like, yeah. She goes, oh, you don't even know about this. But she said, I have to go backwards a minute and say that she decided, maybe she'll find her pocketbook and maybe she'll be able to gather something. Maybe she'll find maybe the girl who stole the money, but maybe left some things that could be important. So she went to look in the neighborhood, and she looked across the street. She found her pocketbook, and it was full of mud, and it was covered because it was a muddy day, a rainy day. And she looked inside. To her surprise, everything was inside the pocketbook, including the money and the credit card. So now she was really dumbfounded. And then she told the hostess what happened. The hostess said, well, if you left the door open, we do have these cats that do come in, and they'd see anything with a long string and twine. You had a long string on your pocketbook, and the cat just stole it, was playing with it until it was done. And look, so she in her mind was sure, for sure, it was only me and her in the house. It had to be her. She had to be the culprit. She had to be the thief. She's the guilty party 100%. There's no question in my mind. And all of a sudden it was a cat. So are we obligated to think it's a cat? No. But if it'll make you feel good and you could believe it, and even if you don't believe it, but if it will make you feel good when you're judging this person and you're saying that whatever scenario you could judge them favorably with sits good with you, then it's okay, because it's really about how you feel, and you want to be positive towards a person that you can get over the scenario. So there's another cute story where a woman helped a certain lady. They were at a conference together, and she became really, really friends with her, and she really liked her, and they hit it off great. They stayed in touch. She gave her contacts, and she gave her, like whatever she could do for her. And over the next few weeks, she was helping this woman, let's call her Rachel, and they just hit it off really well. They became really close. They were in touch for a while, and then once the business aspect, ended, they didn't have much reason to talk, but they were really close, and they liked each other a lot. A few months later, this woman was at a convention, an all-day conference, and all of a sudden she looks at her and she sees her from across the room. She's like, oh my gosh, there's Rachel. And she runs over to say hi. And Rachel's like, hi. And she's like, oh, what happened? I don't know what just happened. And she said, well, maybe she might the contacts I gave her, maybe she might put a fight with someone, maybe something happened. She goes, I don't know. And then a few months later, she was at a dinner, and she sees her again. So again, she goes, oh, maybe that other day she just had a headache. She was in the mood, she's let me try again. And she's like, hi, Rachel, how are you? And again, Rachel, hi. And she's like, I don't really know. She goes, I guess she was just using me. When she needed me, she needed a favor. She was like my friend. And now she doesn't need me anymore. So she's not being nice to me. They end up in the same car, and they end up in the back seat together on the way home. Someone was driving them, and she said, let me just strike a conversation. This is really awkward and uncomfortable. So she goes, hi, remember the first time we met, met at the Shulmans, and we had a meal together by Shabbos? And the girl looks at her, she goes, the Shulmans? And she's like, I can't believe she has such poor recall. What is her memory? It wasn't that long ago. It was only a year ago. And then she goes, hey, the Shulmans? And she goes, no, I know your name, the Shulmans, and she's trying to jog her memory. She goes, I really don't know them. And then she's like, oh, and then she's like, also she looks at her, she goes like, what's wrong with her? And she looks at her, she goes, oh, you know what? She's not really Rachel. She thought it was Rachel. She looks like Rachel, but it wasn't Rachel. So she really wasn't even the person that she thought she was, but she was so sure that it was her. She was such a close lookalike. She goes, I thought it was the same girl, but it wasn't the same girl. And sometimes it's not good enough to just say, I thought it was the same girl, because it's not the same girl. So sometimes she probably would never have thought of that if she didn't have this conversation. If she didn't have this conversation, she would have always been thinking of Rachel as someone who just wasn't nice to her, that she used her and wasn't nice to her. So there was another story of another woman who had given birth. She was in the hospital, and she had a new baby, and she was just in such a happy, chipper mood, and she wanted to talk. So she was hoping they would wheel someone in that would, be a sociable person. And all of a sudden, to her surprise, they wheeled in Esther, and Esther was her old neighbor. And Esther moved off the block a year ago, and they were really friends. But Esther was barely, she was just tired, and she said she waited for the nurses to set her up, and then they opened the curtains, and she said, hi, Esther. She didn't say hi, Esther. She's just like, wait, hi. She started talking to her. She wants to catch up now in the past year. And all of a sudden, Esther gives her a feeble, weak smile, and she's barely speaks to her. She's like, oh, maybe she's really tired. Give her a chance. She just had a baby. You feel okay. Maybe she doesn't feel okay. So then all of a sudden, Esther gets company, and now Esther's talking, and she's happy, and she's even happier than she remembers her. She said, she's not talking to me. Did I do something wrong? Maybe she's mad at me. Maybe, she's offended. I don't know. And she's trying to figure it out. And the whole stay that she's there, she can't understand why Esther's not talking to her. And then she's like, I'm just aggravated. She can't wait till her husband comes and takes her home. And she said, I just want to get out of here. I came to, I had a baby. I want to be happy. And she leaves. a few months later, she sees Esther in the street. She's with her baby, and Esther's with her baby. And all of a sudden, Esther says, "Hi." From across the street, she comes running over. So they look inside each other's carriages, and she says, "Oh, your baby is so cute." And she looks into Esther's carriage. She goes, "The baby's so cute." She goes, "What?" She goes, "What are you feeding this kid? He's enormous. He doesn't look 3 months old." She said, "No, my baby's not 3 months old. My baby's 8 months old." She said, "What do you mean? We're in the hospital together 3 months ago." 3 months ago, was a baby 3 months old. "Oh, my twin sister, she has a baby 3 months old. Oh, we look alike. Everyone always mixes us up. We do look alike, don't we?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, you do look alike." She even think that it wasn't her, that, she had a twin sister, but they said that happens often. Sometimes our perceptions deceive us. Sometimes it's the person we think it is. But it's not. And sometimes the situation is what we think it is, but it's not. There was another woman who went to, she was a nurse, she was in the hospital, and they had a conference, and all of a sudden she sees one of the nurses next to her wearing her earrings. And she's like, "Wow, my earrings." She goes, "I lost my earrings. I didn't know where they were. I've been searching and searching for a few months now." She goes, "And she's wearing my earrings." And she said, "Like, I must have taken them off in the ward during work. I must have left it here." And she's looking at her earrings. She's saying, "Wow, my mother-in-law bought them for me. They're very expensive. They have unusual cut, an unusual design, an unusual stone. And these are definitely my earrings." And she's like, "But why did she look for the owner?" She goes, "And the owner is me. Why did she look for me?" She goes, "Oh, why, how did she even wear it at work? Like, the audacity of just stealing something, like, if you're finding something, you wear it at work, or at least hide the fact that you're wearing them." And she's thinking all these thoughts, and she said, "They're so expensive. They're valuable for my mother-in-law." She didn't know what to do. She goes, "But I'm not prepared to give up on my jewelry. And I don't know how I'm going to get back, but I want my earrings back." And she's trying to think and think. And now the meeting's over. And she says she was no closer to any solution than she was before. And she looks longingly at her earrings one more time. And all of a sudden she notices like a small gold ball on the bottom of the earrings. She goes, "My earrings didn't have that." And then she said a close second, but it wasn't her earrings. And she was so sure that they were earrings that she hadn't seen it. She would have always have thought that this woman stole her earrings. So we're sometimes, very often, in situations that we think something, and sometimes it's really, really not true. But they also go through scenarios that are true. Sometimes someone did harm us, and sometimes there is no dharma consequence. Sometimes they really actually are wrong. And sometimes, so what do we do with those situations? We're like, it's not a close second, but no, it's not her. And it's not, I thought it was my earrings, but it's not my earrings. They really did hurt you. You still have to dharma consequence in those situations. There was a crazy story of a woman who said that her sister's mother-in-law was always a very nice person, but as she was aging, she was becoming less and less pleasant. And she said it came to the point where the family didn't like her anymore because she didn't like the family. She didn't like her children. She didn't like her grandchildren. Unfortunately, her son passed away. When her son passed away, she didn't even grieve her son. And all of a sudden, like, she was just becoming so negative, no one wants to be next to this woman. But her son was a loyal son. He was in touch with her every day. And one day when he called her, no, there was no answer. So he sent, he sent the police over. They knocked down the door. She was on the floor. And they called the ambulance and hospital, and they sent her quick to the hospital. They did testing, and unfortunately, they found a tumor on her brain. And it was sitting on the section of her brain that controls personality. They said it was so big, it was the size of a grapefruit, and they said it must have been sitting there and growing over the past 25 years, but she had no symptoms other than unpleasantness, which is very possible for someone who's aging to become a little bit unpleasant with age. Nobody ever thought that she wasn't well. They said once they did the surgery and they removed it, they said all of a sudden she was like such a nice person, and she was like, she had recall, she had memory, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, I was so not nice to you, can you please forgive me?" And she started complimenting her daughter-in-law, and like she was such a nice person. And then like everyone in the hospital loved her, and she was the most pleasant person. And they said then she started grieving about her son, and it just wasn't in her control because she had something. So they said, you have to think that anyone that's not nice to you has a brain tumor, God forbid, and something's controlling their personality. No, you don't have to think that way. Absolutely not. But sometimes, yes, sometimes we have a headache. And sometimes we don't feel well. And sometimes we stub our toe. And sometimes we're in a bad mood. And sometimes we don't know why we're in a bad mood, but we just are. And there's a million thoughts about ourselves that we can't even understand. So there has to be a million thoughts about other people that we can't understand. Maybe they have the headache. And some people just think different. Like there was one story, I can't even explain it myself, but.
Excuse me, I have a question. Sorry to bother you. And when you said that woman who had a brain tumor, I missed, what symptoms did she have, did you say?
None. She wasn't pleasant. She was just a very not pleasant person. She was becoming more and more nasty, and she wasn't nice, and she was difficult. But she didn't have any physical symptoms that would make anyone feel that there was a concern to have her checked out and, to need a surgery. They didn't know.
I'm speaking because my daughter was pleasant and everything, and suddenly when she turned 18, it's like a total different personality emerged. With the doctor and psychiatrist, they can figure out what's wrong. She's getting angry and more unpleasant. So I'm thinking maybe I should send her for a CAT scan or MRI, because this story kind of made me think. Sorry to bother you.
You could check her out, but it's probably not that. I think in this generation, there's a lot of people with emotional illnesses, and there's a lot of corrections that we're doing in this generation. And you could check her out medically if you want, but a lot of times it really has to do with like Gilgulim and Tikkunim and past generation. We're here to correct, and we're here to correct ourselves, and we're here to correct. We don't know why people have what they have. And maybe she might need, some people are depressed and some people have anxieties, and, you just have to pray to Hashem to guide you to the right direction, because really, nobody knows. I don't know. I certainly don't know. But Hashem should really help you. Ask Hashem to help you, to help her.
Thank you.
I don't know if we need to jump to conclusions that someone has a brain tumor because they're not acting, it could be a lot of things. You just need to ask Hashem to help guide this woman. Just have a lot of patience and read Rabbi Arush books. There's The Garden of Gratitude. He has a nice section on personality disorder and how we're really here to correct. And it's all about tefillah, connecting to Hashem and prayer. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry to bother you.
No problem. Mm-hmm. But we have to understand, like this woman who had the grapefruit tumor, sometimes we just have a headache, and sometimes we're not feeling well. And if I was nice yesterday, doesn't mean I'm nice today. And, and sometimes I don't know why I wasn't nice today. I don't know why I was snappy. And like, how many times did you snap at someone, at a husband, at a child? And then afterwards you're like, why did I do that? I didn't mean it. I feel so bad. But you don't actually go and apologize. So they never know, like, you have a little bit guilt conscience or whatever, but you thought you apologized. You're feeling apologetic, but you didn't actually apologize to the person. So we really do have to judge favorably. We have to cut out sinat chinam. We have to have ahavat chinam. But one of the most important things is forgiveness. We have to forgive people. If we don't forgive people, it's creating a lot of sinat chinam. We have to judge favorably. And even if the reason, just find something that sits well with you that you can accept, even if it's not the real reason. Judge them favorably. Let it go, because you could be the one who could really bring the gula. It could be like a big, huge thing, and it could be a huge initiative, or it could be one small, simple person who doesn't even read Hebrew, who doesn't know how to open a prayer book, but says from her heart, Hashem, I forgive them. So there is a prayer in the back of the book, which I'm going to read to you in English, but I suggest you read the book, and I suggest you read other books like it. It's called The Other Side of the Story, giving people the benefit of the doubt, stories and strategies. What it does is it gets you thinking. It just opens up your mind to just different possibilities. So here's the prayer for a moment. I'm going to read it. Should I read in Hebrew or in English? Any, Naomi?
In English, read it.
Yeah, read it in English. Read it in English.
Hashem, please help me, guide me, and show me the straight path, so that I avoid stumbling in unworthy pursuits and refrain from speaking in a way that is not in accordance with your will. May I merit to be good to everyone, and may I not seek out people's failings. Rather, may I always be worthy to do my utmost, using all my capabilities to find zechut and worth in each and every person in Klal Yisrael, your holy nation, even the smallest of the small, and even those who stand up against me. Through your mercy, may I always merit to judge others favorably. May you bestow upon me the intelligence to understand how to search for and find redeeming factors, strengths, and virtues in my fellow man at all times. I sent it to Naomi, and she could, send it to whoever who wants. But Naomi, do I have 2 more minutes? I just want to say another point that I think is very useful.
Yeah, go ahead. 2 more minutes.
Okay. I'll try to say it in 2. So this is a technique that I learned from Rachel Shoel. She's my Jewish positive thinking instructor, Muna coach, dear friend. She teaches this, and it's so important to remember this point. When we're upset or angry with someone, we have to know that no one could hurt us and no one can harm us. Every situation is sent by Hashem, and they are just a stick, a messenger in Hashem's hands. When someone does something to us, it has nothing to do with the person. It's really hard to remember this, but it's so important. It will benefit us a lot, because even in the Goyim world, any scientist, anyone will tell you that when you're angry, you're hurting yourself first, and it goes from here to a physiological level. We see it on the body in stress and headaches, goes to anxiety, depression, medications, God forbid. We don't want that. We want to release stress for our own benefit for starters, but obviously, we have a deeper meaning here. When we could remember that it's not the person, what are we supposed to do when that husband gets too upset and he says something? That child says something, the neighbor, they parked, today parking is the biggest issue, they blocked your driveway, they stole your parking spot. It's not even funny anymore how many people are using it as an example. It's a big thing, but let's talk, so now you're in the room and your husband said something. What's a good technique to help you? Okay, Hashem, it wasn't him, it's me. Baal Shem Tov says that everything that happens to us is a mirror. How am I supposed to correct myself? How am I supposed to know, especially if I don't want to admit or I'm not good at looking deep in myself? Hashem's going to send me a scenario to help me to correct myself. I'm going to see something in this person that I don't like. And Hashem's trying to show me that same thing, that same flaw that I saw in this person is something that I have to fix in myself. And Hashem's showing it to me via this person. So first of all, it has nothing to do with that person. When David HaMelech met Shimi ben Gera cursed David HaMelech. He said the worst curse is to David HaMelech. So David HaMelech's people said, let's kill him. He said, no, leave him alone. Hashem amar lo lekalel. Hashem told him to curse. Leave him alone. What does he have to do with it? He didn't see Shimi ben Gera in front of him whatsoever. He saw Hashem. Hashem wanted me to do something. So we have to know, like Hashem wants us to correct. So what do? Big silence. And we have down the kafsachul for this person, and then we have to start blessing them. To look at their good points. And this is not what you want to do right now while you're burning, mad, bubbling, boiling. But that's what we have to do. We have to look at the good in this person. He bought me a gift. He changed baby's diaper. He helped me wash the dishes. He took out the garbage. And he took a shower today. That's even a mitzvah. Anything he did, something. He did a favor. Gave a person a ride in the car, Torah, whatever, anything. You have to judge this person favorably, and you have to then bless them. You have to Hashem bless them with long life and good health and bracha and hatzlacha and siyat dishma. Everyone needs parnasah today. Everyone needs health today. Everyone needs happiness today. You bless this person. You see that you start calming down. What happens though, but you're really upset and your blood is boiling. Vayidom aham veishtok. We have to do tshuva. We have to be quiet and not say anything. When your blood is rising up too, this blood, Rabbi Nachman says, goes through your body and it cleanses and purifies your whole entire body. So first of all, you're getting blessed. When you're blessing, you're getting blessed back. You're judging favorably, Hashem's loving it. You're cleaning your whole entire body. And this blood becomes, instead of like a bubbling, burning blood, it becomes a healing blood. It heals your body. And also someone who's quiet in the time of anger. So this gives them the ability, now he's a perfect tzaddik, he just cleansed and he atoned. This gives you the ability to bless. Write a list on your refrigerator, run over to that list and say, hey, my daughter needs a shidduch, this one needs a baby, that one needs a fu'ah shlema. It's not worth it for me to answer back because now it's a big eteratzon. And I'm sure you all heard stories of Rav Kanievsky who told a couple who could have a child, go find someone who's embarrassed publicly and ask them for a bracha. It's the same concept. You were just embarrassed. It's a bizayon of a sort. You were quiet. You down the kafsachul, you judge favorably, you blessed. You stayed quiet, you didn't answer back. Now you could ask Hashem for anything you want. It's a very big eteratzon. And it helps you calm down. Like in the beginning, you don't want to do it. How could you bless the person who just heard you? You want to, the opposite. But now you bless them. And you know what? You feel amazing after that. You're able to do it. You feel so empowered and so amazing. So we think we're weak and we think we can't. We can. But with Hashem's help. Only we talk to Hashem. We ask him to help us. Pull out your notebook and get a pretty notebook and a pen and write down good points and write down, think of your strategies, decide which books you want to read. But in the end of the day, Hashem, the Sahara has made a fire. I'm flesh and blood. I'm just a human being. I need your help. Please, Hashem, help me. And with Hashem's help, we'll be able to do this. We'll be able to get out of this galut, and we're going to have Mashiach Tzidkenu B'ezrat Hashem. one little step, and it could be one of you, B'ezrat Hashem, that could be the Geulah. Just forgive and let go.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. That was amazing, 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 amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank
You did amazing. Thank you so much. You're a beautiful teacher. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very inspirational.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank
Okay. So everybody, I have to get off. So I'm going to quickly do the Shmir Salashon. I want to thank everybody again. Janet, that was inspirational. That was unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chaya, thank you. Lima, thank you. Rebbetzin Yagid, thank you, everybody. And I'm just going to do the Shmir Salashon quickly.